This is an ABC News special report. The fall of Gaddafi.
Hello, I'm George Stephanopoulos at ABC News headquarters in New York, and we're taking a quick break from your regular program because President Obama is about to speak in the Rose Garden about the death of Muammar Gadhafi. U.S. officials learned about the death of the longtime Libyan dictator earlier this morning, and we're going to show you some video now. I warn you, it is graphic and gruesome. We believe this is the moment when Libyan government forces seized Gaddafi after his convoy was bombed by a French fighter jet. Interviews with rebel forces on the scene say he was shot after Gaddafi tried to escape from a hole or a drain pipe on the scene. You see, though, he is clearly alive then. He is believed to have died on the way to get some kind of treatment. Libyan officials have told the United States government that he is dead. Of course, this comes 7 months after NATO authorized a bombing campaign against Gaddafi's regime, more than 40 years after Gaddafi took control of Libya as a 27-year-old colonel. I'm joined here by Christian Amanpour, the last Western journalist to speak to Colonel Gaddafi. And Christian, for most of those 40 years, he was a nemesis of the United States.
He certainly was. Libyan-sponsored terrorism against U.S. officials, against U.S. people in Europe, then Pan Am 103. And he has really been a nemesis and the most hated villain, really, amongst the United States people. So that is absolutely clear. Also, somebody to me said today he is a vampire to his people, as President Obama comes there to start speaking, a vampire.
President Obama speaking now.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today, the government of Libya announced the death of Muammar Gadhafi. This marks the end of a long and painful chapter for the people of Libya, who now have the opportunity to determine their own destiny in a new and democratic Libya. For 4 decades, the Gaddafi regime ruled the Libyan people with an iron fist. Basic human rights were denied, innocent civilians were detained, beaten and killed, and Libya's wealth was squandered. The enormous potential of the Libyan people was held back, and terror was used as a political weapon. Today, we can definitively say that the Gaddafi regime has come to an end. The last major regime strongholds have fallen. The new government is consolidating the control over the country, and one of the world's longest-serving dictators is no more. 1 year ago, the notion of a free Libya seemed impossible. But then the Libyan people rose up and demanded their rights. And when Gaddafi and his forces started going city to city, town by town, to brutalize men, women, and children, the world refused to stand idly by. Faced with the potential of mass atrocities and a call for help from the Libyan people, the United States and our friends and allies stopped Gaddafi's forces in their tracks. A coalition that included the United States, NATO, and Arab nations persevered through the summer to protect Libyan civilians. And meanwhile, the courageous Libyan people fought for their own future and broke the back of the regime. So this is a momentous day in the history of Libya. The dark shadow of tyranny has been lifted, and with this enormous promise, the Libyan people now have a great responsibility to build an inclusive and tolerant and democratic Libya that stands as the ultimate rebuke to Gaddafi's dictatorship. We look forward to the announcement of the country's liberation, the quick formation of an interim government, and a stable transition to Libya's first free and fair elections. And we call on our Libyan friends to continue to work with the international community to secure dangerous materials and to respect the human rights of all Libyans, including those who've been detained. We're under no illusions. Libya will travel a long and winding road to full democracy. There will be difficult days ahead. But the United States, together with the international community, is committed to the Libyan people. You have won your revolution. And now we will be a partner as you forge a future that provides dignity, freedom, and opportunity. For the region, today's events prove once more that the rule of an iron fist inevitably comes to an end. Across the Arab world, citizens have stood up to claim their rights. Youth are delivering a powerful rebuke to dictatorship. And those leaders who try to deny their human dignity will not succeed. For us here in the United States, we are reminded today of all those Americans that we lost at the hands of Gaddafi's terror. Their families and friends are in our thoughts and in our prayers. We recall their bright smiles, their extraordinary lives, and their tragic deaths. We know that nothing can close the wound of their loss, but we stand together as one nation by their side. For nearly 8 months, many Americans have provided extraordinary service in support of our efforts to protect the Libyan people and to provide them with a chance to determine their own destiny. Our skilled diplomats have helped to lead an unprecedented global response. Our brave pilots have flown in Libya's skies. Our sailors have provided support off Libya's shores. And our leadership at NATO has helped guide our coalition. Without putting a single U.S. service member on the ground, we achieved our objectives. And our NATO mission will soon come to an end. This comes at a time when we see the strength of American leadership across the world. We've taken out al-Qaeda leaders, and we've put them on the path to defeat. We're winding down the war in Iraq and have begun a transition in Afghanistan. And now, working in Libya with friends and allies, we've demonstrated what collective action can achieve in the 21st century. Of course, above all, today's belongs to the people of Libya. This is a moment for them to remember all those who suffered and were lost under Gaddafi and look forward to the promise of a new day. And I know the American people wish the people of Libya the very best in what will be a challenging but hopeful days, weeks, months, and years ahead. Thank you very much.
President Obama confirming that Muammar Gadhafi is dead, saying that his regime has definitively come to an end, says this is a victory for the Libyan people. Also, he remembers all the Americans lost to Gaddafi's terror. I want to bring in Jake Tapper, who was in the Rose Garden with the president. And Jake, pretty remarkable few months here for the president's foreign policy. The death of Osama bin Laden in May, the death of Anwar al-Awlaki in Yemen in September, and now Muammar Gadhafi is gone.
That's right, and President Obama was criticized severely for, quote-unquote, leading from behind in this mission. You might recall Senator John McCain and others criticizing him for letting NATO and other countries in Europe take the lead. But, of course, it appears that this mission has been successfully completed. NATO will be meeting tomorrow to discuss where to go from here or whether to end the mission there. Of course, President Obama telling the Libyan people, you have won your revolution. Also saying that Libya will travel a long and winding road to democracy, making sure that people are aware that this process does not just mean that Gaddafi's dead, therefore there will be a democratic republic of Libya. It's going to take a long time before human rights in that country, law and order, law enforcement have been accomplished, and a system of government that respects all the people of Libya has been established. But once again, you're right, George, this does appear another vindication for the president's foreign policy when it comes to dictators, when it comes to the Arab Spring, and when it comes to taking on terrorists.
And thank you, Jake. Let me ask Christiane Amanpour about that Arab Spring revolution sweeping across the Middle East and North Africa. But we're now in that uncertain phase. The dictators are going. We don't know what's going to replace them.
That's true, although this is the first post-Gaddafi era now, the first day of the post-Gaddafi era. And this Arab Spring is a historic moment in this part of the world, so long a nemesis to America in so many ways. So the real concentration will have to be on getting a stable government now, maybe getting these National Transitional Council people to put in an interim government, as the president says, and that's going to be the test of this, not just in Libya, but in Egypt, in Tunisia, and elsewhere around the Arab world.
Okay, Christiane Amanpour, thanks very much. We'll see you tonight on World News, and all of you can follow us all day long at abcnews.com. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
This has been an ABC News special report.